Artlist.io.
Podcast. We're just dropping in today to wish you a happy new year, make you aware that we're going to take a little time off. We're going to do a little polishing, some revamping. So we hope you enjoy this classic episode.
Thank you guys so much for following us on this journey so far. We appreciate it. Don't worry, things will still be coming out each week, but we'll do some classics and then brand new, fresh stuff for 2024. We're really excited.
Can't wait. Keep on living and keep on loving. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Artlist.io.
Nilla, and I am a marriage and family therapist and relationship coach. I travel the world helping individuals to learn the skills they need to have happy and healthy relationships.
And I'm Big Sexy, her loving husband and co-host, here to provide levity.
So you guys, you might recognize that is a different word than the word we've been saying for the last, 15 years. Since the start of this podcast.
At least 9 episodes.
At least 9 episodes. We have been saying brevity.
Brevity.
I think for 2 reasons. One is, we didn't really know exactly the definition of the word.
We weren't paying attention to the word we were saying.
To the words we were saying. And 2 is that we're learning Spanish, and that is just a lovely way to roll that R, that brr, 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 levity.
Levity.
So we got the right word. Thank you, astute listeners. We have the right word now, and now we understand.
Levity.
My partner is bringing something more than just brief.
Right, I'm bringing lightheartedness and fun.
Lightheartedness and fun.
Yes.
So for today, I'm actually really excited because the topic that we're going to get into today is one of my favorite as a relationship therapist, and I'll tell you why. Most of the time, I am dealing with folks that are having problem after problem after problem. Problems with communication, problems with finances or goals or infidelity, or there's just trust. There's just so many different things that folks have problems with. But there is this golden place that I get to sit with people where they are ridiculously happy usually and super hopeful. And it's this wonderful and magical place in, I think, the evolution of a long-term committed partnership.
So what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about engagements.
Ooh.
So
engagements.
I love engagements. This is interesting, right?
Because I really love our engagement. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because, I was a participant in our engagement, but I didn't have anything to do with the planning. I, like a lot of folks, apparently, according to Glamour, 67% of potential brides had no idea that they were going to be proposed to. I'm not sure if that says brides or people. 67% of people had no idea that a proposal was going to be taking place. I was in that camp for the most part. I didn't know. I kind of knew something along the lines was coming. I didn't have any idea. So I'm going to stop talking. You tell our listeners about our engagement.
Well, I mean, the reason I think you had a modicum of an idea that it was going to happen and in relatively soon nature was the request for the rings. Like I mentioned the request, the decoy, as it were, for you to provide me options for an engagement ring.
Right.
All the while I was working on another idea.
Mm-hmm.
I am an entertainer. I'm a performer. I like audiences. I also like big, grandiose affirmations of love.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had dreams of having a big surprise engagement. When I asked, when I was going to ask to marry me, I wanted it to be special.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I realized that I was going to ask you to marry me,
Yeah.
it had to be special. It had to be big,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted everybody there to witness it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I tricked you.
Well, and ladies and gentlemen, let me also just interject, and I'll tell you, I'll fill you in the details later. Not only did he trick me into planning my own engagement party, y'all. I did the work. I did it. It was me.
Yeah, well, I mean, we both did the work of it.
And no bitterness. I'm not mad about it, you guys.
No, so
it's actually kind of funny.
I didn't trick her into planning it. I used her idea, and then I took over the idea, and I turned it into something different.
So he used my labor and co-opted it, y'all.
Yeah, I co-opted your idea. You had a great idea for a party.
I did.
And I said, oh, make this party even better is if I asked you to marry me at it.
Yeah, he didn't tell me that part.
Nope. No, I had to keep that part secret because I did make a promise that when I asked you to marry me, you wouldn't see it coming. I remember I said, you will not see it coming. So then I got to start planning, and I know I can't do this by myself. So shout out to all our friends and family members who were there who knew about it, and helped me keep it a secret. Thank you. And it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. There were a lot of people there. So the way I was tricked, quote unquote. Y'all aren't seeing the air quotes, but I'm making the air quotes. If you're on a Patreon, you're seeing my air quotes. You're seeing
the actual air quotes, yes. So we, okay. So I'll tell the story.
So I was. You had a show.
I was in a show.
In Las Vegas.
Called Alibi the Show.
Mm-hmm. And it had done so well that year that it had been nominated for a Best of Las Vegas award.
Yes.
Which, huge deal. Super great. Like, really great honor to have, particularly for a live show in a city like Las Vegas where there are so many different live shows and so many different kinds of interactive experiences. To kind of rise to the top was pretty neat. So once I heard that, I actually said that we should probably have a party to celebrate this like really great achievement and, have one, it was a really fun show. I'd seen it a few times and I thought, how great would it be to have our friends and our family and we go through this super fun interactive experience together, and at the end of it, we're going to have a big old party to celebrate like this wonderful creative space that, my, at the time, boyfriend had been a part of. I thought it was super cool. So I proposed that idea. And, amazingly, no fight. My partner was like, yeah, no, that sounds a great idea.
I mean, that sounded like a great idea. That sounded amazing. But all this time I had been looking for a way to get everybody together, to get you to an event without it showcasing the possibility of booking dinner reservations at the Eiffel Tower in Vegas.
Yeah, pretty
common. Going up to the stratosphere, right? Doing those kind of things was I didn't want to do anything cliche. Mm-hmm. My first idea was to have us jump off the stratosphere together. Well, not tandemly because you can't do that, but one after the other. So I would go first, and then while she's getting ready to do her jump, I would be downstairs getting everything ready so that when she landed, I would be down there on one knee with the ring in hand.
Which would have been wonderful if I had not actually just done that exact same jump, 2 years beforehand. So I was kind of like, it'll be fun for you. You go do your thing. I'm good. I've already jumped off the stratosphere.
Yeah, and I had already done it once, so I knew that it was okay for me to do because I wasn't terrified of it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So she put the kibosh on that idea.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just wasn't into it.
Yeah. So then while I was thinking of something else, she came up with this idea. So then I went. So then I was like, cool, let's plan it. So Nilla picked out. We planned sent the invitations out.
Yep.
You invited folks.
I invited everybody.
And
from all over the country.
Told me to invite everybody, so I did. When on my social medias, invited everybody. And then I went, which is why I say we shared the work, because while you did all the planning of the event, I went and spoke to every single invitee individually to tell them why they had to be there and what my plans were. So yeah, it didn't seem unnatural to have friends from California come out and family members friends. Show up and come out who lived in the area. Like everybody come out and have this big super event, because we're used to throwing big parties, right? Like our Christmas parties every year are huge, so it didn't seem awkward or odd to have, like, what are you doing here? Oh, wait, if you're here, that means something extra special is about to happen. Nope.
Yeah, so nobody told me anything.
So the way the show works is a group of people start at one location, and they get clues going to around downtown Las Vegas to different locations. You get clues from an actor, that actor sends you to another actor, and so on and so forth. And I was one of the final actors in that process. So Nilla started with one group. So we booked out the last two shows because every show ran 45 minutes separated from each other. So one show would start, and then another one would start 45 minutes later. And so we could do up to 6 shows in a day. So Nilla went with the second to last group, met them, got everybody together, started the tour, and then halfway through, cycled back to the beginning to come and finish the whole thing with the last group. So they get through the entire process. The first group shows up. Everybody's looking at me. They're excited. They're expecting, like, what's going on? I said, everybody's just hang out, relax, scatter, because we got to keep, kayfabe is still a thing. And the last group comes through. And the way the last part worked is they're in this small room. And my character's name is Frankie B. Isabel. I'm the second best Elvis impersonator in the world. And I do my performance, I have my show, and then I go out, and the final actor comes in. So on my final out, when I know that I don't have to go back in, I immediately change out of costume, because at this point in time, I'm dressed up in the Elvis costume and police uniform, and I kind of get out of all that and into regular clothes, because I know my soon-to-be wife.
I did not want to be proposed to by Elvis, thankfully.
Yeah.
That's a terrible thing. It's just not my jammy jam.
Right, and I realized, and some people are you going to say it? I said, no, I'm not staying in costume. No. And so I got changed, and then I had a friend of mine on the curtain that separated the room from the outside, and I grabbed a pillow, got down on one knee, and I waited for the show to end. Now, the show normally ends. We have a monitor in the room, and there is a credits roll, and it plays the song "Viva Las Vegas," and that's the way the show normally ends. But I worked it out with our producer and director that when the show ended, it instead would play Nilla's song that she wanted to dance down the aisle to, Jagged Edge featuring Run DMC. Let's Get Married.
That's right, y'all. That is exactly my wedding march music, just in case you want to know. It's not the greatest song in the world, but it was so much fun.
It's a fun song.
So.
Yeah. So that song starts playing. And then as soon as I hear that song playing, I give it a couple seconds. And then I have my friend open the curtain. And then I call you out to where I'm standing. And she doesn't move, y'all.
Well, now here's the thing, guys, is because I'm not expecting this at all. And by the way, I have to correct a figure. It's not 67% of folks that are surprised in their engagement. 37% of folks are surprised by an engagement proposal. So I was in very good company. I was in that, 1/3 of folks or so who had no clue whatsoever. And remember, I had seen the show a few times. So I'll be really honest, I wasn't paying that much attention. I knew the show was over. I was actually deeply in conversation with my friend who had joined me. And we were just sitting literally in the back row and just talking. You know how you do when you're in the theater.
Right.
Right. So we were just deep in conversation. So I only kind of briefly registered that the pictures are different than the last time I was here. Oh, okay. Well, projection changes things all the time. No biggie.
And it's all pictures of us. Normally it's pictures of the show.
Yeah.
But it was all pictures of us.
But again, I wasn't paying that much attention, so I just kind of glanced up and see like, oh, it's nice. He included me in that picture. Interesting. Went back to my conversation. I noticed the song had changed, but it hadn't occurred to me that there would be any, like, why is the song changing?
Connection. Yeah.
For me, it was just like, oh, I guess they're just like gonna party us on out of this theater. This awesome. I love this song. Right. So that when I heard my name called, I actually didn't hear it. I was so deep in my conversation that I was just like not even paying any mind, right? So I had to get called twice. I had to get called out twice.
I said it twice. And then your friend
and then my friend kind of stopped and looked around and apparently saw what I had not yet seen, which is about 60 people standing all in a semicircle with my boyfriend on the ground on one knee.
On one knee.
And waiting for me to look up.
Yep. And so she came out and
I looked up. We almost fell.
No. You looked up.
I looked up. I walked over.
You walked over.
That's right.
I said, I promised you never see it coming. By the look on your face, I could tell that you are surprised.
100%.
Will you make me happy? And will you marry me? And you said, yes.
I said, yes. And then I tried to drag him up to his feet.
You tried to pull me up, and I said, no, you got to open the box.
He refused.
And when we first started kind of hinting at the idea of getting married, possibly, like that was kind of where our relationship seemed to be going.
Yeah. I wasn't really hinting. I was pretty much saying.
Yeah. Yeah, you sent me a picture of a ring.
I did.
And you initially said you wanted a ring that looked like that. Mm-hmm. And then you said, no, I want that particular ring.
Right.
And it took me forever to find it. I found it and had to work to get it.
Yeah.
It was not going to be easy to get, but I worked to get it. Thank you, everybody who helped me out. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to Patty. Everybody who helped me get that together. So when you open the box, it was that ring.
It was that ring. It was, and I tell you, I was absolutely stunned. And it's so weird. I think sometimes people, I don't know. The question I get sometimes is about the ring. Mm-hmm. People will ask me, like, they'll get to that point in the story and they'll be like, he gave you a selection of rings to choose from. I just want to point out, statistically, and this is from the reputable source we know as Glamour Magazine.
All right.
That 61% of people consult their partner before they buy the ring.
I would hope so.
Which I think is super smart.
Yeah, that number, in my opinion, that number should be higher.
Well, I agree. I think actually, this is my second marriage. So this was actually my second proposal, third proposal, but that's for another day. It's for another day.
This is a great day to talk about all three proposals.
Well, I mean, we can.
Engagement. Well,
only one of them turned into an engagement.
I guess three proposals.
Yes.
2 engagements.
2 engagements.
And 2 marriages.
And 2 marriages, yes. Yeah. So the first engagement, actually, my ex did not consult me on the ring at all.
Okay.
And actually got a ring that was quite literally the opposite of anything I would have asked for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was one of those like, I don't really care about this. I don't really care about that. I really prefer this. I really prefer that. And it was like the exact opposite. So actually that became a thing. And I don't know if that's a thing. That's something maybe we should explore with our listeners. Listeners, do you have any stories about your engagement ring? Because I have to tell you, that became a point of contention. And actually, I almost did not get married that first time because I told my partner that I did not like the ring. And I wanted a different ring. And that person was very upset. Like, very, very, took it very personally.
Wow.
Like, like it was a rejection of them.
Of
And
them, right?
yeah. So like,
Yeah,
the ring almost saved me, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very much a proponent of, no, tell me what you like so I can get what you like. Because like jewelry, unless I had seen you always wear this type of ring and go, okay, and have an idea of what you like. If we ever had a discussion around jewelry, then I can imagine pulling out something.
Right.
But then otherwise, everything else is just going to be your stereotypical, engagement ring style.
Sure.
Which was also part of the difficulty in finding that particular ring, was because it was not a typical
it wasn't a traditional
engagement ring.
Right.
Which makes it even more awesome.
Agreed. It's a lovely ring. I love it. I loved it. It's beautiful. That's a different story for a different day, though. Yeah. It's what else is really interesting is that there is. We got engaged in May.
Yes, we did. May 17th.
And May is actually outside of what we would call engagement season. Did you know that there is an engagement season?
No.
Now, here's what's interesting, is that part of our story started in engagement season.
Okay.
And it just didn't finish until later on. If you had to guess, what month do you think is the most popular month to get engaged?
I'd probably say January.
Close.
February.
December.
Okay. I was thinking holidays, right? So I was thinking either New Year's, New Beginnings, Will You Marry Me? And that's the beginning of a new year.
So I mentioned
February, Valentine's Day.
Yep.
A lot of engagements.
So I mentioned the season, right? So December is the most popular month.
So winter, okay.
But the season is actually for American listeners, right around Thanksgiving, ending right about Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Why do you suppose that might be?
Holidays.
Exactly that, right? We had a kind of like a gift in the idea that there was something that would bring families and friends together. But, outside of that, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day, there's kind of an expectation, right? So engagement season is actually from November to February, which is when the majority of folks actually get engaged.
That makes sense. Yeah. And that lets me know that I definitely still also go against the grain, because there's no way in hell I was going to ask you to marry me on Valentine's Day. That's too corny and cheesy, in my opinion.
That was the first date I got married. For my first marriage.
Really? Was Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did get married on Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, but not by
choice.
Yeah, that was dictated by the venue.
Right. Yeah, we did try other ideas. We had other ideas.
That's true. True. But so that's the season.
Okay.
But I was going to say, you actually did in some ways hit the season, because you took the extra step of asking. You went very traditional.
Yeah, I did.
In
asked
asking
your father's hand for your permission.
It wasn't exactly permission.
Well,
he wasn't going to grant
permission. I asked for his blessing. I asked for his blessing to become his son-in-law.
That's right.
Yeah. I did a very... can
I be a part of your family?
Can you call me son-in-law? Yes, I did a very traditional thing of asking your father for your hand in marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to get into that.
No. I have feelings about that whole traditional spot, which is fine. I think as things have shifted and changed, I think I'm okay with that. I have larger issues with societal expectations around how we are treated in gendered ways, right? Like, I didn't go ask your mom's permission. Right. Right. So that's maybe the kind of like that I'm feeling. Not about that thing, but the general
Yeah, and there's I think I'm also very much anti-gender tradition norms in general. I think I did it because I knew it would be important to him.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too, is that, it's not just a connection of two people, it's a connection of two families.
You're connecting two families, right.
And, irrespective of whether it was important to me or not, definitely was important to my family, who is very traditional.
Right.
So I think that was probably an accurate reading.
Yeah. So I want to be loved by everybody. So I got to speak a lot of those other ideas. And okay, what you like? What you like? Oh, this? Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. So it's interesting too, because for me, when I thought about engagement, I didn't think about what the purpose of engagement was.
It's not just to get married.
Well, I mean,
it's not to say, hey, you.
Well, it's interesting. It serves a couple of different functions, and it served a few different functions over time. Of course, it is just on the face of it, it is just the public announcement, right? That says we intend to, be in committed partnership and to make all these legal commitments. And it's like announcing an intention to set up a contract,
right?
But it's the first public announcement, right? That actually before had a purpose, because before you had a dowry.
Right.
And with the intention to marry came, depending on the time period, either a dowry from the bride or a dowry from the groom, that, the family would need to have time to actually pull together.
Okay.
Right. So, that would be the purpose. I think now it has shifted to more of like, so that we can plan the wedding, so that we can align in terms of our values and finances.
Right.
We can start to have kind of more of those in-depth conversations. And I think that it's now evolved to a place where it actually is a time to prepare for long-term committed partnership, and to start to make the adjustments and ask the questions that will prepare you for long-term committed partnership. At least that's the way that I hope that people are utilizing the time. I think for a lot of folks, it is a party planning stage. Right.
It's also a way to become, still stay together, but be an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, that was a nickname that I gave my dear heart here, which was the best ex ever.
Yes.
Because he was no longer my boyfriend.
Now the fiance.
So, but I think there are some important elements that happen with the engagement that people maybe aren't expecting to have happen, right? The first is that no matter what you think about marriage and long-term partnership, whatever you truly believe about that, that's what comes out in the engagement.
Okay.
And people are often, at least I shouldn't say people are, I have sat with a number of folks who are surprised at how they view marriage and partnership when they're actually moving in that direction versus how they thought they would envision it.
Okay.
Right. There are a lot of folks who, for example, have this idea that marriage is just a piece of paper. It's just a piece of paper. It's not going to change anything. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that we had that. Did you have that understanding? I'd been married before.
Right.
So I think for me, I had maybe a different understanding of the kind of commitment and that kind of thing. For you, did getting engaged change how you viewed our relationship? In what ways did it change?
For me, all it changed was what we called each other.
All right.
Right. Well, I mean, by this time, we're already living together.
That's true.
Right. Our finances are already kind of incorporated somewhat, starting to become some overlap in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your comments, stuff like that. I think what it meant for me personally was that this wasn't going to end, ideally, right? Is because, when you're boyfriend and girlfriend, there's always that possibility that you could break up.
Right.
Right. And engagement usually is a little bit more, it puts a little more weight on it.
Okay.
Right. A little more weight on it. Like the fact, like you moving, if you were going to go to school somewhere, what I have now said is I'm with you.
Okay.
Right. We're now moving through this world together.
Right. Okay.
But I've always had that thought around engagement and things like that. Like once you get engaged, what you're saying is, okay, we're engaged now. We'll get stuff together. We'll get the wedding together. We'll figure that out. We'll do all that planning type of stuff. We'll let everybody know. We'll
Mhm.
we'll align calendars, as it were.
Mhm.
But it is a testament that I am now going to move through this world with you. And I've always had that thought, even
Yeah.
prior to doing it.
Yeah. Did you experience folks treating you differently as a result of being engaged? And maybe let me add some context to that question,
Okay.
right? Uh, in my experience, I found that people took the relationship much more seriously. That there was, I can't even describe exactly what the shift was. And listeners, maybe you can maybe describe your experience if you've experienced this as well. But it suddenly seemed like the relationship held more weight societally.
Okay.
That people treated it as a much more significant and serious relationship.
Yes. Yeah, I got a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Especially from a lot of that came from my family.
Okay. In what way
Right.
did that shift?
Well, I had been the bachelor cousin forever.
Right.
And a lot of my cousins, eventually told me they didn't think I was ever going to get married,
Right.
ever find somebody,
Yeah.
and they were confused by that. So the fact that there was somebody that had asked to marry me meant, oh, good, finally, yes,
Finally.
yes. Oh, and if we met somebody and he's going to, solidify that engagement, and it's a woman, I'm sure there are a lot of questions. I'm going to do theater, I'm a nerd and whatever. Like, oh, maybe, in the Black community,
Mhm.
being gay was frowned upon,
Right. Sure.
especially in my, Baptist Black community, whatever. I'm getting
Mhm.
sidetracked.
Mhm.
There was a lot of that, a lot of
Mhm.
happiness, a lot of relief in my mother,
Okay.
who a lot of relief. I'm pretty sure she said a bunch of thank you, Jesus. A lot of oh, thank God, finally, yes. Oh, I'm so happy, happy, happy. I think my mother was more happy than anybody on that day.
Yeah, she's pretty happy on the wedding day.
Yeah,
We got the pictures to prove it.
yeah, true that, true that. I got the receipts. But like even I don't know if friends treat me too differently, but there was that added weight now.
Mhm.
Like we were really together.
Yeah. Right.
There wasn't this thought that we would separate or
Mhm.
what have you. It was more serious because I had asked you and you said yes.
Right. Yeah, I did say yes. Yeah.
Say like, oh, I did that, didn't I?
That happened. That's the thing that happened.
What was I thinking? Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, am I to understand that we have some engagement stories from our listeners?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Let me pull that up. Any other? While I'm pulling this up, any other notes or stats about around engagement that were interesting?
Let's see. What are some interesting stats? Let's see. About 2,000 couples every year are engaged at Disney World.
Really?
Yes. Even though they, I think, have a pretty strict policy about, I'm not sure, I've read this.
I know that there is something.
There's some policy about public proposals in Disney World.
Yeah.
Where they really try to discourage it, actually.
Right.
Even though people do it. So if you now, I know there are tons of folks out there that are Disney files that are just out in y'all do your Disney like every year, or you have your season pass. If you know of that restriction, or if there is that restriction, let us know. But apparently 2,000 people flaunt the rules. Right. 4,000 people are like, I don't care what you say, Disney.
I don't care what you say.
I'm doing it here in the happiest place on earth.
I wonder, like, because we have stumbled across engagements.
We've stumbled across a bunch of engagements.
Here in Spain, actually. Remember we passed by that restaurant and an engagement was happening.
Mm-hmm.
A little steakhouse right by where we're standing right now in Belamadana. There was an engagement.
Yeah, there was. It's great.
Always
a happy occasion.
we lived in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
well, Vegas
you see that shit all the time.
Wedding capital of the world or something. Right?
I have another quick engagement story that I want to tell before we get into our listeners' engagement story.
Sure.
Of two friends of ours.
Okay, which friends?
Brie and Sam.
Oh, that's right. Oh, we were.
Yes,
that was such a fun engagement.
We were integral in their engagement. So
that's true.
I met Brie and Sam and in Alibi in the show that we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And stayed in touch. We became friends, and they wanted to come out to Vegas and do an engagement shoot. They got an engagement. They want to do this whole big engagement. So I dressed up as my character in an Elvis costume. This time I stayed in Elvis, and we played tour guide and did all these iconic shots at different locations in Las Vegas and gave them a Vegas engagement portfolio.
Yeah, I was the impromptu photographer.
Yes, yeah. And so we went to the Welcome to Nevada sign, Welcome to Las Vegas sign.
Yep, we went to the Container Park.
The Container Park, Golden Nugget.
With the $1 million on display.
Right.
$2 million on display.
Yes, in Harrah's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we went all to the different locations, the Binions, the pyramid of money. Right.
Pyramid of money.
So it was a lot of fun.
So much fun.
We were a part of their engagement. We were supposed to be a part of their wedding, but due to things like COVID and the fact they live in the UK, we were in Vegas, that wasn't able to happen. So we did send our big heads.
Yes. Yeah. And apparently, let's see, here's another stat that might go with that. Let's see, 69% of couples take engagement photos. I don't think we
only 69%?
Well, that's like 70%. That's a lot of people.
I would think I guess have an engagement photo shoot.
It says take engagement photos. I don't know exactly.
Right.
What that means.
I want to know what that means. Because we didn't take engagement photos. But we do have photos from our engagement.
Yeah, I think it's probably more
like a professional photo shoot.
Like we're taking pictures of us
as an engaged couple. We didn't do that whole thing.
We didn't do that thing.
No.
But we were in the 31% of people.
We're in the 31% of people who did not do a photo
Only
shoot.
80% of people do that?
Right. Well, that's surprising. But now when you say professionally, no, I understand that stat now more.
Fair enough.
Okay, this letter comes from our friend Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah says, hello. I've been enjoying the first few episodes of Rainbow Dreamcatcher and love listening to podcasts on relationships.
Thank you.
My name is Sarah. She, her. Thank you very much for the pronouns. And I recently got engaged to my long-term partner, now fiancé, Mayu. He, him. We've been together for just under 7 years, and we've been talking about our long-term plans in marriage for a while now. I'm very happy to say he's a wonderful partner. We've been on the same page about many aspects of a relationship. So much so that I decided to ask him to marry me and popped the question a few weeks ago.
Yay!
Awesome. And you'll remember Sarah and Mayu. They came to your pole recital.
I do remember.
Yes, and then we all went to the burger place and hung out. Yes. We had been talking about getting engaged, and he asked me what kind of ring I would like. See? Smart man. When searching online, I found a ring and a ring box I thought he would like, and I decided to propose to him.
Love that.
I had them for a few weeks, hidden in a drawer, and tried to come up with a plan to propose. I hear you. I thought of different options, something public, maybe at a restaurant or a place significant to us. In the end, I decided it would be nice to do something private at home. We love cooking delicious food together and had planned to try making gumbo for the first time. Ooh, I want to hear how that turned out. I made brownies and raspberry sorbet for dessert, and we had a lovely evening cooking and eating together. Afterwards, we went to the sitting room. He left the room for a minute, and I went and grabbed the ring. I wanted it close in hand in case a romantic moment occurred, so I shoved it into the couch between the couch cushions. We were sitting there for a while, and I started to tell him how much he means to me, how wonderful of a partner he is, and how I'm so happy to be with him. He said, save something for your wedding vows. And at that moment, I reached into the couch behind me, pulled out the ring box, and said, about that.
Aww.
When preparing for the proposal, I wasn't sure what kind of reaction I would get. Even though we have been dating a long time and have discussed marrying each other, I didn't know if he would be casual or surprised or even if he would say no. When he saw the ring box, he smiled and laughed and said, what is happening? I can't remember exactly what I said, but I asked him to marry me and he said yes. He was quite stunned and asked a few times if this was real. We didn't tell anyone that evening and just enjoyed the feeling of being newly engaged. The next day, we told our immediate families, and since then, we've been enjoying calling each other fiance.
Yeah.
We're not planning on getting married anytime soon, but I'm wondering if you have any advice for recently engaged, soon-to-be wed couples. FYITF, Sarah.
Yeah.
And for this podcast, I won't say what FYITF stands for. But
Okay.
Sarah's a scoop.
Oh, okay.
So
got it.
it's a hey scoops type of thing.
Okay. So
Thank you, Sarah.
Secret insider language there.
Yes. If you want to know what that means, either listen to Matt and Mally's Hey Scoop Ice Cream Social, or you can listen to my podcast, Big Sexy Digital Nomad, and you'll learn what that stands for.
Okay, so that ended. First of all, thank you for that story.
Thank you so much. That's
super
awesome.
Super appreciate it. I loved hearing how that all developed. I love how you just decided that you knew this was the person that you wanted to walk through the rest of your life with and just make that happen. I love that you bought the engagement ring. I think that I love everything about this story.
Yeah.
So.
I love, and they showed. She posted on social media picture of the box and the picture of the rings. Really, really cool ring.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, well done, good job. And I believe me, I get the getting the ring, and then okay, now how am I gonna do this? I'm gonna make this, and I love that you went with the intimate, quiet route. Just the two of you doing something you both love doing. Sharing this loving, intimate moment together. And then also waiting to tell the world. Like, that's the exact opposite of what I do. Right? I told the world immediately, and everybody. I wanted
weeks in advance.
I wanted everybody there. Any advice for recent engaged or soon to be wed couples?
Yeah, I would say that you want to use this time and really talk about the difficult topics. Now, what I would suggest that folks do, and this is something I suggest for my relationship folks, is it almost doesn't even matter what resource you use.
Okay.
Find either a conversation game or a book that just has a list of questions to ask before you get married.
Didn't you have a book that said like 2,000 questions to ask before you get married?
I do. I have that book. It's
called. We never read it.
No, I did. I've read it millions of times. And we have answered those questions.
Oh, sweet. Okay, good.
But it's called 1,001 Questions to Ask Before You Get Married. I actually found that book in the middle of a bookstore in Japan in like 2000 or something.
Oh, wow.
So, and it still is super relevant in that it asks a lot of questions that are really important to what happens across time in life for folks.
Okay.
But that maybe we don't talk about during the happier times, right? Like, we don't talk about things like what happens if one of our parents gets sick.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Would you want them to live with you? Would you want to move to go back to a homestead, that kind of thing.
Right.
Talking about things like, how do you spend your leisure time? How do we decide things like vacations? How much spending is too much spending, right? Like, for me, $25 might be like, whatever, you do whatever with that $25. For somebody else, that might be $2,500, right?
I would love to be that way.
So it goes through a lot of the, I think, non-standard kinds of questions that are important for partners to talk about, right? So a lot of us know about talking about wills. A lot of us know about talking about finances.
Right.
Some of us know about talking about, like, kids, that kind of thing. But also just what happens across lifetimes.
That's interesting.
Right? So, like, what happens?
Maybe one day I should read that book.
One of us is interested. Well, I mean, you've gone through the questions. You maybe just didn't know.
Right.
But you've definitely gone through and answered those questions, because
sure
I have asked those questions.
We've had those conversations.
We've had many of those conversations.
The question in the book. Awesome. If I have any advice coming from a non-professional, this has gotten me through the concept of and watching people change after saying, I do, or getting married, and suddenly it gets more serious,
sure,
heavy serious, and of course it should, because you get ready to do life, whatever. But then they forget what it was like to be dating. Mm-hmm. And I always say, never stop dating. Mm-hmm. Go out on dates, still have fun, Still do, do the hard work, do all that kind of stuff, but don't get bogged down in that information. Also, plan the event. If you're going to have a big wedding, plan that together. At least talk about it together, right? See whose ideas outweigh the other.
Well, a lot of that's going to depend on interest. There are some folks who have absolutely no interest whatsoever,
and some people who have
that might be a problem. That might not be a problem.
Right. But she did ask for couples, not necessarily them,
right?
But all couples. So like I said, talk, communicate. Don't look at the engagement as the end game.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
And in that sense, certainly, couples therapy, couples coaching. It's not always to fix a problem, even though oftentimes, that's the purpose, right? I really enjoy walking through kind of premarital topics that can help folks to have just an easier start. The reality is that relationships are challenging, marriages are challenging, right?
Right.
So starting off with a good foundation of not just continuing to communicate, but learning how to communicate in more healthy ways.
Right.
Learning what are the kinds of questions that we need to be asking each other. And also, what are the spaces that are going to be rough parts for us? Because, the thing about healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships is that they have problems. All of them. Right? All of them have problems. So having problems in a relationship and addressing, working out a process to address problems is really a great, I think, a good foundation, in addition to kind of some of that topic work. Right? Yeah. So relationship coaching, relationship counseling, but, primarily communicating and being honest about your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs about what the future should look like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like that. All right. Here we have a question.
Okay.
And I found a question that was still kind of in the same vein.
Okay.
Of this.
Hopefully I have an answer.
Yeah, right. This comes from our friend Ryan.
Okay.
Who is in France right now. Part of Spin Cycle Theater. Shout out to Ryan. I know there is no timeline, but do you think there are milestones that you need to cross before marriage?
So that's interesting, right? Because milestones have been kind of like a staple of at least American life that says there are certain things that you do at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of denotes that you are an adult. It kind of moves you through what it means to be an adult, what it means to be, a partner, right. What it means to be married. The challenge is that those milestones have changed so much over time.
Right. So like getting your driver's license, being able to drink, being able to old enough to rent a car, right. owning property,
right? Graduating from a particular education program,
right? Certain career moves,
right. That being said, I would tell you that the landscape is changing, and when I look at how, for example, millennial couples are moving forward, oftentimes a lot of those kind of milestones are not available, right?
Right.
So I think the first thing is to recognize that there is, I don't think that there is a particular set of milestones outside of the readiness of the couple.
Okay.
And when you look at the readiness of the couple, for me, that really looks at how we have built a foundation of trust, right? Now, when I look at trust, I think of it in 7 parts. I know it's not just like one big thing.
Okay.
But for me, trust looks like boundaries, reliability, accountability. There's the vault, which is those understanding those things that we keep secret and private between us, like what is our world versus the world out there.
Okay.
And what do I need to keep with our world?
We should probably, that's a whole other topic we should probably.
Absolutely.
Very interesting topic to talk about, the secrets that you don't want to talk about.
That you don't want to talk about?
That you want to talk about, right.
So there's the vault, there is integrity, there is non-judgment, and then there's generosity, right? So focusing to me on building solid foundations in those areas, that when I look at my partner, we have and understand boundaries. I'm a reliable partner. My partner is reliable to me. I'm accountable because, we're going to mess up. You're going to mess up,
Right.
right? So we got to be accountable for those things that we don't do well or that we have, in some ways violated boundaries or values. That I understand how to care for you,
Right.
right? That you can ask me for help, that I'm honest with you. And then generosity is that I hold the best possible version of you, right? So if something should happen, let's say, I don't know, I injured myself and I'm in the hospital and I call you, right? If you don't pick up, my thought might be, well, this person is otherwise disposed and maybe, he'll get back to me whenever he can, versus like, you never pick up the phone when I need you, right? In one case, that person is being generous, right? Like, I'm taking the absolute best version of you, versus non-generous, which is the absolute worst version of you. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, in that sense, for me, those would be the milestones that I look for in terms of working with partners and couples.
What about like societal milestone things like living together or having sex first or
I don't hold
discussions of kink?
Yeah, I tell you what. Again, that gets back to that understanding foundation of trust, right? If we're talking about boundaries don't happen without communication,
right?
Right. If we're talking about honesty, that doesn't happen without communication. So in terms of society, what I would say is that, one, it depends on the society, right? Like, we're talking primarily about American society, but other societies have all kinds of different measures and different views of marriage, some of which don't even include love and sex, right?
Right.
And I think also there's such a wide range of partnerships. There's passionate love and companionate love, right?
Right.
Now, I think what a lot of folks are looking for is a combination of passionate and companionate. But there are, for example, aromantic or asexual folks who really have a strong romantic bond, but are not going to be sexually engaged. And to tell those folks, like, you should probably have sex first. Maybe. That's maybe not necessarily a part of the deal there. So, so in terms of societal milestones, I don't know. I just don't think a lot of them apply anymore.
Okay.
Right? Like the idea that you have to have sex first. Well, I mean, there are a lot of people that have sex first, and that doesn't mean that their relationship is going to last.
Right.
It just means that they are sexually compatible. That's great. You know what I mean?
It's wonderful when that can happen.
But also not necessarily required for a successful marriage.
Right.
Odd as it's kept, right? As quiet as it's kept. You don't necessarily have to have a sex life to have a happy marriage. There are companionate marriages. So a lot of it is down to what you want out of your marital relationship. Why are you getting married? Right.
On that note, I kind of want to do a small pivot.
Okay.
What about engagement as a business proposal?
I don't even know what that question
People
means.
who need to get married for a green card or married for kind of like
we would fall in that category.
Right. Who need to get married.
We can't talk about it though.
Well, we did and we didn't. Because we had our timetable was for healthcare purposes. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
But there are people who are getting married who don't plan to be in a.
Here's the thing: is that
marriage.
Like I said, the predominant lens that people hold, at least from where I'm sitting, is this idea of Western marriage, which is based on a love relationship,
right?
And that is not the case for a lot of the world,
right?
Right. There are tons of folks that have arranged marriages, for example, that can be happy and supportive, and actually work, right? There are marriages of convenience. There's just all kinds of different reasons that people
Yeah.
get married. It's not just because they have fallen in love, even though that's the lens that we
One day
tend
I would
to
like
take.
to explore all those different types
Oh
of
yeah,
marriage relationships.
that's my jammy jam. I love
Yeah.
non-traditional relationships of all types.
Maybe we'll do an engagement part 2 because I would love how those type of marriages,
Mhm.
if they have an engagement proponent and what
Yeah.
that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be interesting to explore.
Yeah. Maybe that's one of those spaces where we'd have a guest that
Yeah.
comes from a different kind of partnership.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, sounds good.
Mhm.
All right, well, listeners, thank you guys very much for sitting with us again. Of course, you can always catch us. We have a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So you want to listen to this on YouTube, you want to catch some of that, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the Love Podcast. You just search for that, that'll put us up. You can hit us up on Instagram
Mhm.
at Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the Love Pod. You can send us in your letters or questions or anything of that nature to rainbowdreamcatchertlp@gmail.com.
Yep. And if you've made it this far, go on ahead and hit that like button. Go on ahead and subscribe. We can't tell you how helpful it is to have you just click that little button. It's super helpful for us. So if you could, please take a moment. You want to comment down below. That also helps us as we are building our community and as we're building our audience. We really love what we are. I think I love the relationship that we have with our community.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see it grow. I'm so grateful for the questions and the stories that you all send in. So thanks for sticking with us this far. And, please go ahead and hit those buttons and help us out.
Yeah, and you heard the wife earlier mention our Patreon, which we are currently building. So stay tuned for that. That's going to come into effect and be published. You can join it for free now if you want to get in on the community aspect of it.
Please do.
Feel free to do so. Just go to patreon.com/Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the Love Pod. Or you can go to rainbowdreamcatcherthelovepod.com, and that should take you directly to our Patreon page. But guys, thank you again. We appreciate y'all.
So wonderful to chat with you today. And as per usual, this has been Rainbow Dreamcatcher,
the Love Podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.